And good Wednesday evening, live from the studio, whatever we call this thing here. And we got a really special edition. Tonight, I guess we're just going to call it here on the Tuscola Football Network. This is just me. This is just David's Sports Talk show. And we've got a really special guest with us tonight. This is our first edition of the Tuscola Football Alumni. And really looking forward. We've got Chad Haynes. He's Coach Chad Haynes, but tonight, most of the night, we're not going to call him Coach. This is Chad Haynes, defensive end for the Tuscola Mountaineers from 1986 to 1989. And welcome, Chad.
Thank you.
Hey, man, it's good to have you. And I hope everyone can hear us. I think we've pushed all the proper buttons tonight. If you can hear us, just kind of talk in the comments real quick, because I have the technology is more advanced than I am as we've progressed in the last 2 years with this stuff. So, Coach, welcome. I know you had to work all day and then get up to the practice field, and we got a big road trip. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. We got a road trip tomorrow night to South Caldwell with our really good and exciting JV team, and then Friday night at home we got the home opener against South Caldwell. It one the most beautiful scenic football stadium in the country at C.E. Weatherby Stadium. So welcome, Chad. I'm going to call you Chad right now because I don't want you to be the coach right now. I want you to be Chad.
I do still have my stuff on.
Yes.
I just came off practice field.
Absolutely. And not real quick. Every time I say that makes me, I get mad at myself. I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank Crompton's Auto Mart, CromptonAuto.com. It's been a slow 2 weeks. We need to please somebody go to CromptonAuto.com. Put an application in tonight while we're here, so when I get to work in the morning, I will not be a grumpy individual. CromptonAuto.com. Sutton and Sons Antique Mall. Ryan. I don't know. Y'all call him Frog.
Yeah, Frog.
It's and I just call him Ryan. But man, do they do a great job, and anything that you can find. And Jonathan's on me because I really want to buy that fuselage for that Cessna plane that's sitting there. And he said, "What are you going to do with that, Dad?" I said, "I have no idea, but I'd really like to have that." Mountaineer Oxygen Services with Heath, and Heath, and I am a client. And when Heath is up here on our sponsor night, I'll tell everybody the whole story about what they did for Janet, my wife, and John's mom, with the COVID things, and everybody. Most people know Janet's story, and it's not the normal story. And we didn't know who the heck these people were and what they did, and they literally were a big part of keeping Janet alive. So they're very special to our family. Caffeine and Chaos, John and those guys down there, and my Coach Crompton, I have trouble calling him that, but Coach Crompton he lives on Caffeine and Chaos coffee, because he's got the ground stuff that he brews, I guess, in his office like 5 and 6, 7 times a day. The boy needs help. But that's in the indoor playground they have down there, the shirts, the hats, the indoor playground, the ice cream, the pastries. They're just great folks and do a great thing for our community. The print house, Chris, everybody knows Chris, and I promise you that this week I'm going to go down there tomorrow, and I'm going to get, and it's not Chris's fault, it's mine, so I can get our Tuscola Football Network backgrounds. And they're awesome, because when you go by my place down at Crompton's Auto Mart, all my signage, and I've got some really cool signs, are all done and designed by Chris. And then Amy Spivey, and Amy's, and I always pronounce this wrong, but it's Christie's International Real Estate. It's Amy Spivey's Christie's International Real Estate. She does such a phenomenal job in that. And the stuff that this lady does for our football program is off the charts. So we got people that are really, 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 really committed to the program, committed to make sure that we're able to continue to do this. Because this is, if you're sitting in this seat, and Chad's never seen this before, this is not a computer and a webcam. There's a lot of stuff happening here.
Full-on studio.
There's a full-on studio, correct, so we can do this and do it in a way that is proper and make everybody proud. I've got a big announcement real quick here
Okay.
that the Big T Club is going to host the first annual alumni event, and it's at Tuscola Homecoming on Friday, September 12th, and that's at the field right behind the concession stand. There's going to be a time to meet for all alum from every class, anybody that's an alum from Tuscola High School. They want you to come. They want you to meet people from all different decades, generations, classes, years, reminisce, reflect on the years back, and enjoy sandwiches and salads. They are going to ask a minimum $10 donation. And if you know how much things cost today, $10 for a lot of food, that's a heck of a deal. That's so trust me. So go to the Big T Club on Facebook, and it will give you full and complete details. And we'll continue to talk about that here each and every show we have. So, Chad, first of all, again, I want to welcome you and thank you. And I've been looking forward to this for a pretty good while.
Yeah,
And you are the first one, and hopefully of many. Because hey, look, we want to talk to the guys that played back on that first team in '67, or '66. I don't know if that was a '67, but anyway,
just think about that out loud. You mentioned it before. Miss Spivey's dad, Mr. Cog, Bob.
Yes,
He'd be great to have you.
Yep.
He was on one of those things.
And he's coming.
Okay.
Yeah, he's coming. I want to talk to the guys from that era. I'd love to, I'm going to call Doug McCracken and see if Doug, I know he's got some health things, so I don't want to put any pressure on him. I want to talk to those guys from those 70s ball clubs. I want to talk to those guys from the 80s ball clubs, from the 90s, the 2000s, 2010s. We're going to have, if contact me, call me down at the car lot, and so we can get you ready to go. We want to have you on because when you hear the discussion that we're going to have with Chad tonight, maybe you want to talk about some of the things that he's talking about, but for your memories. Because and the last thing we're going to do, don't let me forget, Ryan. Ryan McClure's over here running the board for us. Don't let me forget, Ryan. The last thing, don't let me forget to ask Chad, because I don't have it in my notes, about his experience against the guys from across the county. That's really important that I don't forget to talk about that.
Okay.
And I will say across the county.
Yeah. Okay.
So let me get this stuff out of the way. So let me move my mic. And we're going to talk real quick. I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about this weekend before you and I get into all our details.
Okay.
I want to spend a few minutes doing what Chuck and I did for the last 2 years. And we're not going to spend but about 12 minutes at the most on it, is the first week of college football season. And I'm going to rant just a little bit. I know I grew up in a different era.
I feel like we all did.
Okay. But I know I grew up in a different era. I am really disgusted at what I saw, what little I saw of Fox and then what I saw with ESPN. Not the actual games and not the way that, the games when they're on. But I'm telling you, if I am a player, or if I am anything to do with anybody at TCU, and I am not throwing off on Coach Belichick, okay? But I want to preface that. My son played for him. My son spent 18 months employed by him. And he learned a heck of a lot from him. So that's the first thing. But if I am TCU, if I'm an alum of TCU, if I'm a fan of anybody, what ESPN did Monday night was an embarrassment. It was a disgrace to me. My God. It's like TCU didn't exist. Again, man, Carolina basketball, I grew up loving Carolina basketball. Man, the first time I saw Michael Jordan, I said, whoa, this dude's different. It didn't take a genius.
Right.
But all the camera shots and all the loving and all the stuff and talking about the girlfriend and talking about, and all this stuff. And they never talked about TCU.
Mm. So it's just a Belichick bowl, basically.
And I get it, but come on, man. I mean, it was gross what they did. Yeah. It was gross. And I usually don't really, I pull for Tennessee. Cool. I want Tennessee, and we're going to talk about the fact that it's a great day in Knoxville. Not that we won, but that Alabama lost. But it was horrible. It was disgusting to me, the way they handled it. They were openly rooting for Carolina. That's not your job.
Right. That's
not your dadgum job to root for a team against the other. And they can sit here and say that they weren't, but that's bull. They did. They are. And the fact of the matter is, Carolina has 70 new kids on their roster. 70. Wow. And they got some kids that can play. But they got their butt kicked up front. They're not good up front. TCU is not going to be TCU might win 11 football games. I mean, they're good. But up front, are they an elite team? When you say compare them to a big one of those Big Ten teams up front, or a team from the SEC up front, probably not. And man, Carolina got whipped. They got whipped. They got a long ways to go. Is he going to coach them up? Heck yeah.
Sure.
But are they going to win the national championship? Absolutely not. They're not going to win the ACC unless I'm way wrong. And it was, to me, it was horrible, and it was a disgrace, and it's a disservice and the disrespect that they showed to TCU. And good for TCU.
Right.
Great for TCU.
They played well. I didn't watch the game, but just bits and pieces of
it. Hey, man, their trigger guy's good.
Yeah.
If I'm an NFL guy, he's on my radar.
Sure.
Because he throws the ball well enough, but golly, he plays with poise and all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, now I go back and say what ESPN did and what Fox did to Arch Manning. That's bullcrap. I mean, again, it's not Arch's fault. This kid, in high school, he did not play big time high school football. They played at that school down there. It's a good school. Mm-hmm. And that's where Eli came from. That's where Peyton came from. That's where their dad Cooper, who is the best athlete of the three brothers, because the spinal thing's the only reason he didn't play. I mean, he was an NFL wide receiver.
I knew he was good. I didn't know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He had to retire as a freshman.
Okay.
In college.
Wow.
But Arch Manning has played against Louisiana Monroe as a starter.
Right. And
to sit here and anoint him the Heisman Trophy and anoint him the greatest quarterback ever. That's literally what they were doing. At first, that is not fair to the kid.
Right.
I know I grew up in a different time, but it frustrates me to no end. It frustrates me because it's garbage. It's just, it's just garbage. And then you show such disrespect to the opponents.
Sure.
And again, Ohio State, defending national champions, they went out and proved a point. Mm-hmm. They beat them up.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like they're it's more about the storyline rather than the game itself. And you're right. Who ends up paying is the underdog or the team that it's not about.
Just get back to reporting.
Yeah.
And that's why I can't stand. I don't watch ESPN at all anymore, because in the mornings I used to watch SportsCenter. Now it's just Stephen A. Smith up there screaming and hollering and acting like an idiot with all these other folks. That's not sports. So anyway, and then we're going to get to our show here real quick. Man alive! I watched the Western game, 35-7. Catamounts up 35-7 in the third quarter to Gardner Webb, and dadgum 52-45. They took it on the chin.
Wow.
At home. And that's a tough loss for Western. I know their starting quarterback didn't play, but they scored 52 points. I mean, they scored 45 points. They scored enough to win.
Yeah, they must have figured something out at the half.
Yeah.
Western would.
And I hate that for them. And they play Saturday at 2:00. And they're playing at Wake Forest. Okay. So if you're going to travel down there, go watch them play. My favorite college football team opens the season Saturday at Mars Hill. The Lions open their season. They're taking on Winston-Salem State. They're going to be. Hey, look, they better play. They got to play really well. Yeah. Winston-Salem State is a great program, and
they're HBCU.
They're HBCU, and they got some guys that can play. And
we sent a couple players there from Tuscola back before my time in the 80s, early 80s. Sent a couple players.
And so 6:30, and this is the first game in 33 years that Tim Clifton's not going to be the head coach on the sidelines. And I will tell you, I've never met a finer man in this business. Mm-hmm. And I've been lucky enough to be around it from youth league to the NFL and everything in between. There's no finer man that I was ever around who loved his kids, and he deserved to go out on his own terms, and he did. And to hire Kevin Barnett as the head football coach at Mars Hill is a great hire.
Yeah, I think, between me and you and people listening, I think, he left late. I feel like that was on purpose to ensure that they may be able to hire Kevin the way they did.
I'm not going to say that I knew something, but I'm going to tell you that 4 years ago, that I probably thought that might be the case. Mm-hmm. And they've got great people over there. You've got Chuck Pfeiffer, you've got Jonathan Surratt, you've got people that are just damn good football coaches, right, but better people. Sure. So Janet and I'm going to see if Janet and if Coach Matthews is back. I'd love Coach Matthews and I might go back out there this weekend. But anyway, now let's get to the business of you and Tuscola football. Okay.
I don't know if we can get done in 45 minutes. It's the business of me.
Well, let me tell you this. I can stay on as long as I want. So it makes no difference. Okay. We'll stay on till midnight. Who's going to tell me no? All right. So, Chad, you've been a part of this program since let's go back to my favorite youth league venue. Mm-hmm. Was the Lake Junaluska Warriors. Yeah. So let's just start there.
Okay. I played there 1978, 79. Started playing Lake Junaluska. My dad took me down. I was a big kid, and they were excited to have me, and I played, back then it was called Pee-wees, termites, mites, midgets, all the way up. And then obviously matriculated up through Waynesville Junior High School, Tuscola High School, and then ended up kind of redoing the whole thing with my kids when they came of age. I didn't want to coach, honestly. I took them out, and my oldest Jacob was playing. I think he was 5 at the time. And a guy named Heath Russell, who's a good friend of mine now, he was coaching, and he had 22 5- and 6-year-olds. I mean, we coached kids that played full contact football before they went their first day of kindergarten. And so he was dealing with that. And then his help they were working late and had trouble getting there. So it seemed like it was always him. And he'd have to sit 11 kids over against we practiced on the baseball field there at Clyde over in the corner. That's what they gave us. So you had to run around the hump,
Yeah.
Around. But anyway, he would have 11 sitting over on the fence, and he would work with 11 on offense. And I just finally had enough of watching that. So I went over and asked him, said, look, I'll just work with these 11, that you've got over here, and you can do what you need to do, and then we'll trade out. You can work with the other 11. And he agreed to let me help. And, I remember the first game that I participated in as a coach that year. Bethel beat us 38-0 in a scrimmage. It was a full-on game-style scrimmage. And, there were things I saw that just stuff started coming flooding back, to me from my experience. And so I started sharing that with Heath at the time when he was the head coach. And then fate sort of intervened, and he had to go on vacation, had to go to the beach. And it was the week we were playing that same Bethel team in the regular season. And so he kind of handed me the whistle, and he said, you're the guy, I'm going to the beach. And so I took it, really seriously. I was so excited about it. And I actually I remember studying film. A guy named Daniel Royer used to do DVDs of all the games. So I had the film I could actually study and use that to kind of show the kids what we needed to do. Ended up winning that ball game. And when Heath Russell came back into town, he said, just keep the whistle. You're the coach now. So that's how I became the coach. And I was a head coach down there at Lake Junaluska for 7 years after that. I coached my kids. got the opportunity to go and be the head coach at the middle school. I coached all the same kids that I had coached in the youth program. In fact, the first team I had at the middle school was the first team I had coached at Lake Junior Lusk as pups. And so it was special to me to get to kind of, they say, run it back with those kids over again at the middle school. We had great success there. And then, fortunate enough that Jonathan called and asked me to come work at the high school now. So I've been in it, even before that. My mom taught at Tuscola High School for, 30 years, maybe more. And so she's a huge sports fan. We would always go to the games on Friday nights.
So you've been around the Mountaineer program. Yeah.
Since birth.
Since birth.
I can remember, when CU Weatherby, they had to switch, the home side was supposed to be the cement side.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got sort of run down. And so the home side ended up being wood bleachers.
I remember that playing there.
Right, wood bleachers and the grass, it was grass, of course. So I remember that experience. That was my experience growing up. We went to all the games. We traveled with the team, and they went to playoffs. This is from back in, like I say, 75, when I was 4 or 5 years old. We would always travel with the team. And it's how I became a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I'm a Steelers fan now. If you wanted merchandise to wear for Tuscola, you could go to Bob's, and they had what you needed, hoodies and that. But I wanted a little something extra. So the Steelers merchandise you could get in the Sears catalog and have it shipped over here to the Sears store down in the plaza. So I would do that, and the Steelers were pretty good in the 70s also.
A little bit.
So it just worked out great, and I became a Steelers fan because they're black and yellow. Tuscola's black and yellow. But, growing up, I was at all the games, and even the basketball games. My mom was either working concessions or doing something, but I've been in it really my whole life. So
tell me about when you knew that you wanted to be a Mountaineer football player. when you knew that you said, man, I want to wear that uniform.
So it's and you see it now. You see the kids down in the end zone every week. They're down there. Somebody's throwing passes back and forth to one another. And of course, you start playing football for Lake Junior Lusk to get more acclimated with the sport. And then you're down there in that end zone, and I make a point to stop every time, even though I'm old, I'm not a player. But when players would come through, out the back of that end zone, like they're going to the locker room and whatnot, and all those kids are there, and they all line up. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it happens every week. They come over and line up. They just want a high five, and the players are so gracious to give them that high five. That's the moment. That was the moment for me when I could see these guys, and then I knew them. My mom knew their names. She would tell me about them. I would always ask her about this player, that player, and what they're doing. My mom was a seamstress for the team, so she sewed up the uniform. She was taught home economics at Tuscola. So had a good relationship with Coach Brooks. I've known him since I was very young, 6, 7, 8 years old, and so it was just in my blood really from the beginning.
So Waynesville, was it Waynesville Middle or Waynesville Junior?
It was Waynesville Junior High when I came through.
Yeah.
And the great thing about that at the time is you had 4 opportunities to play. So at the junior high organization, we had 7th and 8th grade was junior high JV.
School ball.
Yeah, school ball, junior high JV. And then 9th grade was junior high varsity. And then you had high school JV, which was 10th grade, and then high school varsity 11th to 12th. So you had 4 opportunities to play and get better. It got a lot of kids opportunities to play. We don't have that same organization now. I wish we did. It helped me. I was undersized. I was for a defensive end. I was undersized, not that fast. Had to learn how to really technique for playing the game to have success. But that opportunity, those 4 years, 4 opportunities to play. And of course, I played at Lake Junior Lusk too. But that really benefited a kid like myself coming through, really wanting to work on his technique and become a better ball player.
And I'm going to go back just a little bit. I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, I remember the old stadium when they built the home side where it was, but it wasn't like it was now. And in the end zone, they had bleachers down on the apartment side. And I think that's where the band used to sit.
That's right. The band.
Yeah, see, I remember being a visitor when we would come over early in my stuff. And yeah, it was just, it was intimidating.
Yeah.
It was because you were surrounded.
I know.
You were surrounded.
100%.
But when you ran on the field in 86, all right, let's start there. 86, you were a sophomore. JV varsity. JV. And you ran on the field, and now it's real.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
Do you remember anything from that?
Um,
Any of those? I
I
mean, like
remember-
your feelings, and you're going, "Oh gosh, this is kind of."
It was more a pride thing, like for me, and I think this was the same with all the kids I grew up with. When you get to middle school or junior high school, it's all you want to be. If you're a football player, you just are counting the 3 years to go by so you can get up there and be, part of that program. And so, it was surreal a little bit, but you're doing it, and again, you're doing it with your friends, which is,
Yeah, that's
I know we're going to talk about this probably in a minute, but, I don't remember all the plays that I made and that, but I always remember the people that I played with. And
absolutely
my coaches, and that's what it's all about. That's the special thing about school, and coaching the middle school, and I'll get back to your question in a minute, but
sure.
coaching the middle school, what I found is kids just want to be a part of something, and they want to be a part of something in school. They love that locker room. It's the one that's underneath,
Yeah.
that old stadium. They absolutely love it because they're together. There's no politics in the locker room. We're
Yep.
just brothers. And I have kids that I'm convinced that do it for that experience alone. Like they like the sport of football, but they're more interested in being with their brothers and being in that locker room at that point in life. And that's a big thing.
And man, that's so true because, Coach Brooks, when he was in here, and I want to go back and tell you that I've been fortunate enough for the past 20, 21, 22 years. We had radio shows. We've had, this stuff. We've had so many shows through the years. And that was probably the best. I'm not going to use the word interview because that was the best discussion for somebody that I have had in 20 something years. I've been fortunate enough to be able to do this in a public forum.
Mm-hmm.
I just need you to know his passion is as strong today.
Still alive.
Oh my God. And yeah, I can't wait for him to be back. And he said he would. So I'm going to ask him.
He's an inspirational guy. Always has been. I'm drinking out of this. Miss Janet brought me this cup, but this is not a Pisgah cup.
No.
This is a Heart cup from the concert.
From the concert.
Be clear about that.
That's
I'm a
it.
Heart fan. So this is not a Pisgah.
Yes, that's Miss Janet. I told her not to give him that one. So, played your JV year.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's Fridays.
Yes.
And Fridays in Waynesville I got to watch my language. Fridays in Waynesville are a big darn deal.
Yeah.
And so now you're a junior.
Mm-hmm.
And talk to me about,
I mean,
because I've never asked you this, I never ask anybody, but I know, because for me, I know how big it was to me across the mountain. The first time you walked on the field with that uniform on a Friday night, I bet you remember pregame warm-ups.
I do. I remember it all. You standing a little taller.
Yep.
It's funny.
Talk to me about the first day that you went out before you even played the game, your first varsity game.
Well, I mean, you got the jitters, of course. You have them always, but in that moment, they're everything's a little bit magnified, a little bit bigger. I remember my partner back in the day when we would stretch. You had a stretch partner.
Yep.
So one man was sitting on the ground, the other man was making sure you're
Yep.
stretching. And I remember my partner. He's passed away now. Chris Massey was his name. He was a good friend of mine.
Rest his soul.
Yeah, but I'll never forget the moment, like you say, because he and I, from 7th grade all the way up, we kept saying, one of these days, that's going to be us, one of these days. And so it was with great anticipation, that night came, and I remember it, like you say, like it was yesterday. And I just, it's a special moment. All of them are special. The whole, it was special to go from Lake Junaluska to go to the middle school to be able to wear the colors. Lake Junaluska is red and white, and I remember how special it was just to be in black and gold finally. It was special to get to varsity at the middle school. That was another step, and Coach Greg Parker was my coach down there, and he's renowned. At the middle school, there's an old, like a concession stand that's behind the bleachers that are down closer to the end zone. And I don't know if they use it for carnivals or what. It's got a bunch of doors that open up, and it's like they used to have a fair down there. But I was in there one day when I was coaching, and I just happened to go in the back room. I had a key to that building. And there were all these trophies along the wall from Waynesville Middle School back in the 80s that won, junior high school, that won all these championships. And it was Coach Greg Parker who had been there, just a long tenured coach. He was really good friends with Coach Brooks and kind of ran the same system, the wishbone all the way up. but the matriculation all the way up really at every step was special for me, and to do it again, like I said before, with your friends, with your buddies that have been always anticipating the same thing, and it comes for all of you on the same day. We go out and celebrate before. It's just a special time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, what's your junior year? And we're going to just talk about your junior year right now. What's your best memory? What's your best moment?
Playoffs. As a first time varsity player was a big deal. You know, you don't get that opportunity at junior high. You don't get that opportunity in JVs. It was a big deal. We played back then in the 80s, was especially the early 80s. My senior year was a little different. We'll talk about that in a minute. But in the early 80s, Tuscola was real strong. You know, deep in the playoffs every year. Always had trouble in Charlotte every year, which is to be expected. But to get to go to playoffs for the first time, and we were playing into November. We had winter jerseys. Everybody always wanted a winter jersey. You knew you had arrived, and they were kind of three-quarter sleeve jerseys that you put on that were cotton. They didn't have the mesh on them or anything. And then the travel bag, to have your own travel bag and have to, you know, put your stuff and carry it on the bus. We had these, I think they're still up there somewhere, but you've seen them. It's old school now. But we had these jackets, full-length jackets that had Tuscola across the
Parkas.
They cover your shoulder pads, and the hoodie's big enough to cover you. Everybody had one of those issued, you know. And it was just a special time, you know, to be part of that finally after watching it. You know, at that point, with my family and that, we had traveled to playoffs, you know, 10, 15 different times growing up. But to be able to participate and be out there made me really proud. My family was still in the stands, and now I was the one out there that they were cheering for.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. And Coach Brooks was your head coach.
He was.
And I know a lot of those guys on that staff were there when we moved here that stayed over with Coach Nolan for those 2 years.
Hefner.
Coach Hefner really
Fantastic.
Now he's Georgia, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because he really was giving me a hard time. You know, don't go to Georgia. Yeah, but he's just a quality.
Yeah.
Quality.
Yeah, I tell you a funny one about him. Just from a couple of years ago, Tuscola had lost Pisgah at home, and I don't remember what year. But his wife, Miss Elaine, they put up decorations in that Renton Stadium. And I happened to be there on Saturday morning as a middle school coach because they use our locker room. And I need to go by and get organized for Monday and get everything straightened out since they've been in there. But he just happened to be there at the same time. And, you know, I asked him what he thought about the game. And he's like, oh, you know, he just sort of, and I know it wasn't what he wanted to say. He was just beating around the bush a little bit. And so he had to go through the gate and walk around to the other side because the other gate was unlocked. He needed to lock it and pick up some stuff. And I remembered I had to go over there too. And he was probably 10, 15 feet in front of me, and I was walking behind him. And I could just hear him under his breath all the way around that stadium about how he really felt about how the previous night's game. And it was, I didn't want to get too close to him because I thought he might stop, but I enjoyed it.
He's running hot.
He was running hot. And, you know, and I don't know how old he is. I saw him at Ingles probably 2 weeks ago. And I always give him a hug, and he's a great guy. And he meant a lot to me. He was defensive coordinator.
And I certainly hope that we can have him on. That's a big deal for us.
Yeah, he's fantastic. You need to get him on.
Yeah, but he can't wear his Georgia stuff.
Right.
I got him a T-hat.
There you go.
Black or orange.
That's right. We'll take either power tee.
Absolutely. So, just senior year, and you never think it's going to end.
Right.
And it does. So, before we get to that point, you know, talk to me a little bit about your senior year. I know I did a little research because I talked to you, and then I did some research today in some other ways. You said you were undersized and all that good stuff. You made all conference as a defensive end, and that's when we were playing every week. We were playing. Yeah, we're playing the Reynoldses and the Asheville's.
Absolutely, they were in our conference. 3A, 4A conference.
Yep.
Tuscola, Reynolds, Asheville were the only 4A schools, and then the more traditional schools, Pisgah and that, were the 3A half.
Yeah. So talk to me about your senior year.
Okay. Yeah, sure. It was,
and not just about the football part, but talk to me about as a senior. Did you look at it differently? Did you think I've got to carry myself different. I've got to do this, or I've got to be this, or I've got to say things that I probably haven't said before.
Sure.
Because the people that have never really played and been in a locker room, a brotherhood,
right.
you really don't understand unless you've been there. Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a brotherhood. That's what I
Yeah.
tell the kids that I've coached, especially the night you mentioned it before we were talking before the show. The kids that I've coached, I keep telling them it's a brotherhood. It's a fraternity. And then when they dedicated the field to Coach Brooks that night, I was just coaching the middle school practice that day, and I invited all the kids to come out and participate in that because then they could see the people that show up. A lot of the alumni that played would just show up to congratulate him and celebrate him on that day. But that's truly what it is. And then again, you get your turn. Like you're being, molded in leadership a little bit as you go through from junior high school all the way up through the high school. And that's your opportunity to lead, to put into action what you learned. And so that was the challenge I took upon myself to be a leader for that team in whatever capacity that it needed to be. And I think, my buddies, like I say, when you play those 6 years from 7th grade to 12th, so 5 years back then, now it's 6th grade through 12th. But when you play those years and it's the same brothers, right, that you're going through it with, and you're all going through the same process, it's just a special thing to share that, in your senior year together. Coming into it, we were young, from a football perspective, especially athletically. We didn't have a lot of great athletes in my class. We the prior year, my junior year, we survived on seniors. In my senior year, we survived really for what we had with juniors and underclassmen athletically. We were strong, I think, from an upfront perspective in that, and a few spots here and there, safeties and that, but we relied on the underclassmen. We were not expected to do great. We this particular class, we were missing the one great athlete, but we did well. We had a really, really good defense, thanks to Coach Hefner. Really good defense that year. I don't know if you're familiar with the Lime Bowl. You know what I'm talking about? So Irwin, Danny Wilkins.
Yes, absolutely. I know.
So it's
yes, no, I know. I know exactly.
That was my senior year, and for people that don't know, Hurricane Hugo came through. We were 3-1 at the time, so we had done well. Started really strong. Hurricane Hugo came through that fall, and it rained out the game on Friday night because it was just rain over on this end of it. Rained really heavy. Rained Saturday night. Rained it out again.
I was there.
Yeah, and so at the time, the NCHSAA wouldn't allow people to play on Sunday. They had a rule against it, so that's fine. That meant we had to play Monday night football. So we were jacked up about that to be able to play Monday night like the pros. Coach Danny Wilkins was coaching at Irwin at the time.
Yep.
And I talked to him about it, coincidentally 4 or 5 years ago. It was the first time I ever talked to him about it. And he said, "Son, I'm sorry." First thing he said out of his mouth. But back then, everything was grass. There was no turf. People used chalk to mark the lines. And then we would sit on the chalk, like I said before, to do our calisthenics.
Warm up.
And all that. They had ran out of chalk because they had lined it on Friday and Saturday. And so Coach Wilkins said he had to go to the feeding seat and pick up some more chalk. And he told me, he said, it's brown unmarked bags, and they just loaded on the truck, and he took it away. Ended up being agricultural lime.
Wow. I remember that like it was yesterday.
To mark the fields. And so it's funny, I wish I had that film. I probably do somewhere. But the lime with the water created a chemical reaction, created second, third degree burns really on your rump, or the other places. Wherever
it touched.
Less convenient. Right?
Yeah. And you sweating.
Right. And so it's funny, the film you can see, I won't get into the details, but
go ahead.
So on the water breaks, when the boys it was raining anyway, they bring the waters out. Nobody's drinking water. Everybody's just squirting it down their pants because it's a fire going on, in your pants. So it wasn't a pleasant experience. My dad, I got him. I motioned him to cut down. I just needed his pocket knife so I could cut off my undergarments because they were where those things touched you. That's where you were getting burned.
Yeah.
Well, we all kind of cut that stuff off and ended up finishing the game. But I say all that to say, we were on a pretty good roll, 3-1, and we're superseding really what our expectations were for the season. The Lime Bowl happened. We had 13 starters that missed 1 game and 7 starters that missed 2 games. And so We ended up dropping the next 2 games. They were close. I give, credit for that. They were close, but we ended up being 4-3 coming out of that. We finished, I think we beat Asheville to make the playoffs in my senior year. The last game I played was at Independence High School in Charlotte, North Carolina. And it was a special moment. They had some quality football players. You might remember the name Natron Means.
Yep.
Played for them, I believe, that year. And then another guy that played tight end for the Steelers, his name was Eric Green.
Yep.
So I'm a defensive end, and I'm going up against this guy that's just a monster, And he was so big, he had a different color helmet and a different color pair of pants on, So I knew he was a big guy and fast and athletic. But that's, they still beat us 14-7 in the ball game. They scored the first play of the ball game, really because we just were in awe a little bit going down there. But that night, I remember my aunt lived probably 2 miles from that stadium. She lived in Mint Hill, in Independence. That high school's out there close to Mint Hill. And my parents were there, of course, my aunt and my grandparents and the whole 9 yards were there. And they just assumed I'd want to go to my aunt's and spend the night, and rest and ride back. But like the rest of my brothers, I opted to ride the bus one last time. So we got on the bus and rode that home, had that experience.
Because I guess my next question is this and this is where, again, if you're watching, people that played are going to understand when I ask this question. When you're in the locker room and it's over and you're a senior and you got to take that thing off, do you remember? I remember mine. I remember exactly how I took it off.
Right.
And I knew I was going to get to play at someplace else. But man, playing with my friends, with my brothers, and you're in that locker room and you got to take that thing off for the last time. Do you?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I'm
not trying to get you to cry. I'm just trying.
It's okay. I'm not going to cry.
Okay.
I don't think today. I might though. You never know.
Yeah.
But it absolutely is a moment, and it's one of those things where you don't. It's always every day thereafter thinking about it is worse than the actual moment. When you're kind of in the moment for sure. But that's why I try to impress on my own children and on all the kids that I coach that this thing only lives for a certain period of time in your life. And my kids, Bryson and Jacob, they love to hunt and they love to fish, and deer season is football season, and I just try to impress upon them, you can hunt your whole life, but this is something you can only do for this window of time. And I've been the same way with all the kids really that I've coached growing up, just to try to get them. There's no experience like it. We didn't talk about this too much, but for me, why I'm passionate about it, why I'm still doing it. I get the hair stands up on my arms at least 5 to 10 times every ball game I'm in, because I see a kid who's doing something that we've worked on with him to do, and you see him executing that way, and there's nothing quite like that. But the reason I'm passionate about it and why I kind of stayed in it after Heath Russell, got me to coach and help him, is because of the lessons really that I learned. I had a great upbringing. My mom and dad were fantastic. My community, my grandparents, just really fantastic. I couldn't have had a better upbringing. But in spite of that, there were some lessons that I just couldn't have learned any other way than with my coaches and with my brothers and my teammates. And that's what really, drives my passion to be a coach. I want these other young men to have that same experience that I had with their coaches, and I can see it happen. And at halftime, that's what makes the hair stand on my arms. It's not a play they make; it's I see them have that experience. And
I'm going to talk to you about your times as a player on the field against the guys on the other side of the county in just a second.
Sure.
But last Thursday, a week ago tomorrow, you guys are down there doing your thing, and I will never you will understand. But Jonathan, he says, hey, just put this headset on and just you tell us to down and distance. We need that, so you do that, and because he knows it kind of protects me,
right?
And this is on Thursday, and you guys are down there, and JV's playing their guts out, man,
Yes,
against a really. And listen to me, people, Inca is going to be a good football team. Their JV team is as good as anybody I have seen. Just you listen to me. they're good. So they're not going to be a walkover in the future. But anyway, I was standing up there on the top row, and I looked down on the field. And the last Thursday, that sun thing with it was the sun was just, it took your breath away. And you look down, and the middle school had just played. Your guys were on the field playing. All these varsity players are down there just being good teammates on the sidelines. And then you look over in the other across the fence right there, and there is the youth league. They're out there practicing, and I said, dang.
Yeah, it's pretty special.
What? This is freaking awesome. So after the game, and our little post game interview has turned into something real quick. It's turned into something really wild and I mean crazy. And like the one we did, the two we've done with you, and the one we did with Jonathan last night have over like 18,000.
Wow. Okay.
18,000. So, but anyway, when I went down there and we were talking real quick before we did that real fast, because we did it live.
Yep.
And I said, man, did you see, and you kind of stopped me. I said, I got goosebumps. And you said, man, yeah, look, the stands were full, our kids, this, and that. And you said while you were coaching that you looked over there and you saw the youth league and you saw our varsity kids and all these middle school kids. And you had the same thought that I did, said, man, this is a special place and we're in a good place here.
Yeah, and we were at, we'd either just scored or were about to, I don't know if it was 2-point play or if it was a touchdown play in that end zone.
Yeah.
And so when you're looking right out over, we're about to execute and they're moving, catches your eye.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, this is really special.
I mean,
going on.
It was just really, and if I could just, if people think that our program is a whole, from the little all the way to the oldest senior on Friday night, we're in a good place.
We are. We're in a really good.
We're in a really, and it was so special. So anyway, let's get back to this.
Okay.
I want to talk to you about your times on Friday nights competing against the guys across the county, because that I have now, look. You say anything you want. You can use any verbiage. I don't care. Okay. You say anything you want to say, because there's nothing better.
Yeah. So I mean, I told you before we were. So this will be a roundabout story.
No,
we had struggled with Canton for my class because we didn't have that one athlete. We had some athletes, we didn't have the one. They had a couple, really, and we knew who they were. And they beat us at basketball and they beat us at football. So long story short, you come to my senior year. I'll tell you about the junior year in a minute. It was a funny occurrence, but senior year we weren't supposed to win the ball. They were picked to win the conference, as a matter of fact. They had the athletes we didn't have. The county, that's how it went back then. It seems like either Pisgah had the athletes and Tuscola did. There was a 10-year stretch in the 80s when Tuscola had them. I mean, we won 10 years in a row right in that area somewhere. But this was their year. This was their year, to turn the tide, to win one. They had lost 9 or 10 in a row in the 80s. So anyway, long story short, they had the athletes. They were supposed to win the ball game. Everybody knew it. We had a great game plan. We came in, defense, like I said before, was really our strength that year. I'm a defensive guy, made all-conference defensive end. You mentioned we had 4 or 5 different all-conference representatives off my team, my senior team that year. But we get into the ball game, and the defense really just shut them down. And it was the most amazing thing. The final score was 17-3. They ended up getting a field goal at some point. But we just put a route on them and just weren't supposed to. Just made it even that much more sweeter. And that was really that was our championship. We had come through the Lime Bowl and all that I mentioned. We had suffered through some things. Didn't have a great team to start with. And then to have an opportunity to win that ball game, we were just really content with it. Now, my 11th grade year, my junior year, the power went out during the ball game. I don't know if people on here who are listening will be familiar with it. When the power came back on, there was a streaker on the field. So, I'll never forget that. My junior year, the power was out for a pretty good period of time, and everybody just sort of stood still. They didn't want anybody to move around, afraid somebody might get hurt coming out of the stands or whatnot. And they said they'd sure they'd have it back on. But when they flipped it back on, it was a streaker out there. So Anyway, it's a special thing. Everybody knows it goes without saying that rivalry is, it's really unparalleled in our area. It's unparalleled in the region, I think.
I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any comparison. And I've been to state championship games. I've been to regional championship games. I've seen other rivalries. I played in rivalry that I'm 63 that still means something to me when I was at Irwin against Dingle. But nothing, and I'll say nothing compares to this.
Yeah, and that's the other thing you remember too. You remember if you won that game. Every man out here that's played in the program ever, regardless of their role, they know, did I win or did I lose that ball? And it's bragging rights and all that. And I was friends with the kids that played for Pisco. And they're still, I think our kids still hang out with them some. We were friends. But now when we get on the field, it's time to go. And bragging rights forever are at stake. One of them, I talked to him during one of our 7-on-7s. His name's Rod Brandt. He was a senior at Pisco when I was senior at Tuscola. Still good friends. He works with the FCA. And I just ran into him.
Good man.
Yeah, good man. And so we have that connection. We've always had it. He actually, I think he hit me in the back of the play and got a flag during that game. So I reminded him.
What does Tuscola football mean to Chad Haynes? That's a deep question.
That's a deep.
But I'm the old police detective too, okay. So I'm going to ask that.
Right. It's a lot of things to me. It's a lot of things. I told this. I know I'm going to cry here. I told you my story.
Yep.
What makes me passionate about it are the lessons that I learned and the men that I learned it from, and that I learned it with. There's nothing to replace it that I've experienced in life. I'm sure, baseball people feel the same in some ways, but there's a passion about football that's different for me. I know we're football guys. It's so many things. Like I say, I grew up with it. My mom taught at the school. I the power tee, really from birth, and just ate it up growing up. And just to then grow up and be a part of it, like we were talking about before, was just something that just it's almost like, I don't know, it's a fairy tale type thing for a kid that loves to play football in a football community, and that's just what it is. I'll say this, Doug, Coach Brooks had a tremendous impact on my life. You mentioned him earlier. The thing about your coaches that's different, and the word coach, I tell this to all the kids too. I just found it out. The word coach is a shortened version of the word co-achieve. I don't know if you knew that. No. So that's where the word coach comes from. It's just a shortened version of co-achieve, which I love so much because that's what it gives me an opportunity to continue to achieve with these young men as they go through. So Coach Brooks was influential and special in my life. The thing about it that's different, and this is Tuscola. I'm sure it exists in other programs, but I told you I had great upbringing, good parents, and that. But when it's someone that's not your parent, and they're asking you to do a job, and they're making you part of something that's a little bit bigger than you are, as a young man, and they hold you accountable, and then they believe in you, and there's nothing quite like that relationship between the coach and the player. And that is really special to me. That's something I'm passionate about that I want to give to or participate in with the kids that I coach. Coach Brooks, one time, I'll tell you a story on him. We were playing.
You talk as long as you want to talk.
Okay.
Here, I'm being real serious.
We were playing over at McDowell, and I kind of got it. We played. JV played over there last year, and so I got to be on the field and kind of relive this moment I'm about to tell you about. But we were playing at McDowell, and everything you said before, it was pretty much everything was wishbone back in the day, or power eye, or some variety. It's why I became all conference defensive end, because I would absolutely tackle the dive 100% of the time. I was great at my technique. It didn't matter. They put it in the fullback's belly, I'm putting him on the ground. That's what I did. But this game, Coach Brooks, we worked all week on the stuff they're going to run. They sweep occasionally. What we hadn't seen is a crack, and you'll know what a crack is.
Absolutely.
So we were down. It was right before the half, and we got the ball. They had the ball. It was seconds before, and they ran a sweep around my end on the visitor side. And I got cracked. So this is the the wide receiver people that don't know, he's basically running full speed. Back in the day, you could crack.
Yep, he's coming to you and you don't see him.
That's right. The corner might give you a heads up if if he thinks about it, if he don't think he's running a slant. But I got cracked good. I mean good. And they scored on the play. And Coach Brooks couldn't see it. And I don't know about the coaches in the box or whatnot. But he was upset. I mean, he thought I had contained. If I'm not tackling the dive, I've got contained. They broke contained, scored a touchdown. And he was livid. He was upset. He had never been upset at me before. I'm a guy that likes to please my coaches and do the best I can and all that. But he was upset. And he was upset and yelling at me to the point where I actually shed a tear in the locker room that night. Because I cared. I did not want to let him down in any way. And, we kind of had to get on with our business and get through half. We ended up losing the football game. It was the one I think that we lost in that first stretch as a senior. But the thing that impressed me the most about him is on Monday, he found me and he said, "Son, I apologize. I've seen the film. And we didn't plan for that. We didn't know it was going to happen, but you got cracked on the play. And I apologize for how I reacted at halftime." And that meant a lot to me because I wanted to please him so much. And again, those are things that inspire me as a coach to try and live up to that.
And those are the things that you will never forget. Like that conversation, you're going to be an 80-year-old man, and that has an effect on you because
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with saying I'm wrong when you're wrong.
Right.
And
you don't expect it from your coach. You don't
correct.
He's always right. He's in this elevated position.
Because you look at your coach, sometimes not even as a human.
Right, exactly right. He and exactly right. You think they're otherworldly, you want to please them. They've got a plan, they got an answer for everything, But to see him be humble in that moment and own that and come to me, it just meant the world. It meant almost as much as all the coaching meant. You know what I mean? So
and again, just for the 3 or 4 hours I was around him for those 2 days, I could see that because my perception coming in was very stoic, very, I don't know if we're going to get an answer out of this guy.
Right.
I mean, and man, so everything that my preconceived notion going in was wrong.
Right. Yeah.
I could not have been more wrong. I wasn't thinking bad about him. I was just thinking, I just know what I've seen. This guy's on the sidelines. It's A, B, C, and D. There's no gray area. And just he impressed the living crap out of me. And that story right there that you told even gives me more respect for him. And now, forget the coach. Forget you as the coach. Forget you as the player. And now we got one kid that's a senior and we got one that's already through. Be the dad for a minute.
Now. Well, okay. I didn't know this was coming.
Because I don't know your oldest, but I'm telling you, I love 34.
Yeah.
Let me just say this. I love everything about him.
Yeah.
I love the way he plays. I love that he's nasty. And that's a compliment in my world. I love the fact that he's a yes sir, no sir. That when he looks me in the eye and he shakes my hand, he looks me dead in the eye. And that T means something really special to him. So I'm gonna quit talking and I'm just gonna let you talk about your two boys.
Oh, that's yeah. So I've coached them their whole life.
And that's hard.
It is hard. And it wasn't something I wanted to do, honestly. But that's how it worked out. And I've, especially Bryson, my older son Jacob got out of it before high school. But Bryson, this is his 12th year playing football right now. So he's played since he was 5. Coaching him's hard. I used to I would always have to, when I talk about the team at the end of the season, every season I have to present the young men and give some awards and this and that. And I would always say, I've coached him since he was 5, and I'm probably going to keep coaching him the rest of his life, if I'm lucky. I was telling my girlfriend that at some point you become, if you're lucky, become a trusted advisor in his life. And that's what my goal is now.
Yeah. And there's no, and let me, as a parent that's with both of mine, That's the best thing in the world.
Yeah, I know.
That's the best thing
right
in the
there
world.
on the precipice of
Yeah,
that.
to get the phone call that goes, "Have you got a minute? I just want to ask you what you think."
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
it is.
go ahead. I'm
So
sorry.
I'm not there yet with him, but he,
Yeah.
you know, I've coached him a lot. I couldn't be more proud of him and the man he is, and all the things that you said so nicely. They're 100% true. Um, you know, he had an ACL there 2 years ago.
Broke my heart.
Devastating injury for him, for me, for all of us, his family. He had worked so hard, really, since day one, since he's 5 years old to that moment. He earned a starting spot there
As a sophomore.
middle linebacker, tore his ACL 6 plays into the game. And, you know, something like that, you know, emotionally takes a major toll on a young man when you've worked that hard. He's just now, honestly, getting back to the same place he was in the weight room, getting back to the same weight. And I'm proud of him for that, for overcoming that, for continuing on. This summer, you know, he got invited to a couple of camps. They wanted him to come down. And, you know, he said, "Dad, you know, I don't think my heart's in it." You know, I said, "Okay, it's okay. You know, that's the decision you want to make." And he said, "If something happens, it'll happen. If it doesn't, it won't. I'm content either way." And you know, I was okay with that. I never pushed him really hard. I wanted to. Like, I got invited to coach at the Turkey Bowl and youth stuff and middle school stuff they would have around Thanksgiving down in Gatlinburg every year. And I wanted to go coach and I wanted him to play. But, you know, he always wanted to play in season. And when it was time for that to be over and it to be hunting season or basketball season or whatever it was, he wanted to move on and do that. And so I never pushed him, and it paid off really in spades because he lost a hunger for the game or a desire to go out and play. And, you know, he'll be out. He's got a sore back right now that we're trying to get some work done on. But either way, he's going to be there. My challenge to him really this season was, you know, finish strong. And I know he will. I'm reiterating what I know is going to happen to it. But I just wanted to kind of encourage him in that way and just have him to finish strong. And he's a captain of the team. And I couldn't be more proud of him. And my daughter Brienne, she's a cheerleader also. So
That's you've got a lot. Yeah.
On Friday nights, it's a whole family affair.
And again, I can't emphasize enough it's like, you know, we used to back in the day. Again, you and I'm a little older than you, but you know, back when Chris Berman would talk about the Buffalo Bills and he'd say, "You circle the wagons, circle the wagons." And the one thing about this program is, man, this program circles the wagons because it would be a bad day here. One bounce of the football last Friday night, and this would be a crappy interview today. Would still be crappy.
Yeah.
And now, just one bounce of the ball, they circled the wagons, and you guys, now we're going to talk about 2025 now.
Okay.
You guys as a staff, your kids, I think you got really special kids. I just think you do. I know that I'm a little prejudiced in that way but man, they're really special.
Yeah, I'm proud of them. I've coached most of them.
Yeah,
right?
they're just and they love this game. They love the T. They love this program, and you know, the three that were up here the other day, and they talked about and they feel such, and it's a little bit of weight on them. Right. The history of what you're representing is more than just 2025, because you're representing people, and it goes back before 1966, guys. Right. It does, because I've went back and I've looked at the old newspapers and I've looked at the old things. Man, this program and it goes back a heck of a long way, and it's always been, we're going to hit you in the mouth. We're going to be good, and that's what's expected, which is really cool. Yeah, you know. So, and when they do sense, they do have a sense of responsibility to uphold the T and uphold the community, and I think that's a good thing. It is. I think that's a good thing.
To that point, you know, the community involvement whether it be food, whether it be donations or whatever it be, is right now, even now, is unparalleled.
Oh yeah.
And I think the kids see that, and it makes them realize. And then the people, not just the staff. You mentioned Miss Amy before; she's the team mom. The people that are just coming around them.
Our principal
It's
unmatched.
It extends throughout, really.
Yeah.
And it's just a fantastic thing and a fantastic time right now.
So talk to me about tomorrow. It's a heck of a road trip. We got to go.
Yeah.
What is it, 2.5, 2 hours?
It's 2 hours, 15 minutes, 2.5.
Down to South Caldwell.
South Caldwell, 2 hour game, 2 hour and change ride home. So it's going to be a long day, 6 hours traveling in football. We're excited for it. We don't have film.
No, we don't.
Not JV film.
Oh my.
So we don't know. We don't know necessarily. So we're preparing like they're going to be the varsity.
So your game planned off of the Friday film?
We did. We used the Friday film, and then you make assumptions that they're going to be a little more vanilla than what you're going to see there, but basically the same. And you don't know, but you'll see. Our kids are resilient in that way, and we teach technique, and we've covered so many things, and then they've played so much together. I don't think we're going to see anything that's going to shock us tomorrow. I do think they're pretty good. I don't know how they stack up against Inca. I agree 100% with what you said about Inca. That's, I've done this now at the JV level 2 years. I think that might be the best JV team that I've seen that Inca had there last week.
I totally agree with you. They're good.
Yeah.
I would like to coach them.
Yeah,
they got some kids that can play.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
So, but our kids. Talk about your bunch. Talk about our JV bunch here real quick, because they are. How do I say this without getting into? They're badasses.
They are. Yeah.
They are.
You called it day one. Defensively, all the hats running the ball.
Yeah.
That's our calling card. Offense, this is 2 different systems in 2 years, so it's a bit of a learning curve. But defensively, not a whole lot has changed. I'll say this: I'm not a pessimist. I'm a realist. I like to tell people we lost a lot last year. We lost, John and Sam moved up to varsity.
Yep.
And Matt, and they were big for us last year. And I saw somewhere, I think you posted it on one of your shows, where our JV program was picked to finish 4th in the West, I think, or something like that.
Yep.
And I remember seeing that, thinking, I don't see it,
Yeah.
But I discounted, what we did return. These linemen up front that we brought back that you and I've talked about that means so much to your football program. And we got most of them back, save a couple, and they've just done a fantastic job, enabled us to really learn on offense athletically. And then, so a couple really good surprises. There's 2 freshmen starting on offense, which is a great thing for us. And
would one of them happen to be a running back?
One of them's a running back. He is, absolutely, and he's something special. If people haven't seen him, you need to come.
Tell his name.
His name's Ty Lucas.
Ty Lucas, and again, I'm old. Ty Lucas is Larry Zonka in man. He had a run last week where foot in the ground, half step to the right, and he's untouched.
Yeah.
He saw the guy foot in the ground, half step to the left. He put his hat in that guy's chest and ran over the top of him.
Yeah, he's something special.
Yeah,
and he's worth the price of admission.
He is, and then our little scat back that he can run like the freaking wind.
Well, yeah,
tell his name.
Jake Durbin.
Yes,
you saw him on the punt return. He had a nice punt return, got a penalty on it, got called back. And I talked to him about it after the game. I said, "Man, I hate that guy called back." And he's like, I'd be more upset if I'd actually see. He didn't score. He got run out of bounds like the 5. He's like, I'm not that mad. If it had been a touchdown, I'd have been mad. But it was a fantastic run.
Yeah. So, we're the program's headed in the right direction. It takes a while, I think, to get your culture. It takes a while to. There was a lot, that's not why we're here. So anyway, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Then we're looking forward to Friday. What time? You're getting out of here about 3 tomorrow. Starting going down the mountain.
Finish full day of school and then get out as quickly as possible after that and get on the road. I think it's a 6:30 kickoff. It depends. Conference kickoffs sometimes are different than non-conference, but I think it's a 6:30 kickoff.
All right. Well, before we get off here, again, I want to. And Ryan, are our sponsors running across the bottom of the screen, please? I want to make sure people, please freak with these people. They have they have sacrificed time, money, and effort to make sure we're able to do this for everyone. So please visit all of our sponsors. My taxidermy friend, I always do special things for him, for Ed, and we'll put something up on a post this week. Don't forget about the alumni weekend for any Tuscola alum, and go to the Big T Club Facebook page. Another big week of football.
Yep.
On the hill. And anything you want to say before we go?
How about them Mountaineers? All I want to say is what I tell the kids in every week. They get them fired up. They love it, just like we're talking about here tonight.
And I will say this, and this is the good. Last Friday, when he blocked that extra point, and again I said Apple Watch. You got your Apple Watch on, and I'm up there with Chad. I'm going to call him Chad because tonight was more about Chad than Coach, and we pounded on each other for a minute, and I kept hearing this beeping. I'm going, what in the heck is going on? I'm hearing this doo-doo-doo, like this emergency thing.
Yeah.
And I look down, and my wrist is vibrating. I had put my watch into, it was calling EMS saying that I had some kind of medical emergency. So yeah, Tuscola football, it does a lot of things to a lot of people.
It does.
But thank you guys, Chad. You were magnificent. I hope you're back.
Yeah,
and I guys, please, you former players, it makes no difference when you played. Call me down at the car lot. I want to get you on. I want to know about you. I want to know about your career. The people want to know the history of this program. We don't live in the past, but the history of this program is dadgum important. And these kids that are playing today love to know the history and the people that you played with and your teammates. Because, I'm mad at myself. I didn't get to ask you. Well, I'm going to ask you before we get off there. It's my thing. I can do what I want. Before you played, before you started, who's the best Tuscola football player you ever saw from when you were a kid up? Because I never got to see Pig.
Yeah, I didn't.
I never got to see Pig Bryson.
I didn't get to see him play. If I did, I was too young, to remember. I got a lot of names, honestly. My favorite player was a guy named, and he's not very well known, his name Mike Gahagan. And he was a tight end, wore number 88. And I like the number. Lynn Swan wore the same number as the Steelers. He made a lot of plays for Tuscola High School as a kid watching. But there's so many. I can
name them.
Well, let's see. There's Al Moore and Travis Moore. We were in the wishbone. That was two halves of the wishbone back then. And then some guys closer to my age. Kevin Duckett was fantastic watching him play. He was the leading rusher for a long time, I think, until I can't think of his name. He went to Chapel Hill on scholarship.
Yes.
But Kevin Duckett was fantastic growing up. Butch Ray, Jeff Brady, I watched them play with as a boy. Quarterbacks at Tuscola. J.D. Sisk, big lineman at Tuscola. He's now the strength coach, I think, down at Georgia Southern.
Really good. I like him. We've been friends for a long time. I met him when he was at Clemson. Mm-hmm. Then he went to Furman. Then he went to Vanderbilt. Then he went back to Furman. Just a quality man.
Yeah, great guy. Bobby Rogers, pastor here in Maggie Valley, he always had a mohawk, and he had a T cut on the side of his head like that I'll never forget back in the day. So I just had a lot of memories.
That's awesome. See, guys, so contact me, call me down at the car lot, or send me a message at cromptonauto.com. You don't have to buy a car if you don't want to. It'd be cool if you did. But
Please do.
But truly, I want to have, we'll move this to a place where we can have 7 or 8 or 10 on here at a time, whatever it takes, because we want, and we're gonna make sure that our history is recognized. So thank you, Ryan. Get us out of here. We'll see everybody Saturday morning. Hopefully, it's a victory show on the Jonathan Crompton Coaches Show. And thank you, Coach. Thank you so much. Now you're coach again.
Okay, all right.
All right, guys.
Flip the hacks. I got to coach tomorrow.
See you guys.